Every car forum has the same argument on repeat. Ford guys say Hondas are boring appliances. Honda guys say Fords fall apart the second the warranty runs out. And somewhere in the comments, someone's posted a meme about Jeep owners just to remind everyone there are worse fates. But here's what nobody in that argument actually checks. The data on who sticks with their brand and who doesn't tells a completely different story than the reliability war everyone's having. And it's going to make at least one side of this comment section uncomfortable. Let's start with the number that surprised me the most. According to J.D. Power's most recent automotive brand loyalty study, Ford has the highest loyalty rate of any brand in the entire industry. Not Toyota, not Honda, not some luxury brand with a logo that makes your neighbors jealous. Ford. At 66.6%, meaning 2 out of every 3 Ford owners who trade in their vehicle buy another Ford. Now, if you're a Ford skeptic, you're already typing your rebuttal, because Ford's reliability reputation has taken real damage over the years. Recalls, transmission issues on certain models, a rough run with some of their electrified trucks, all of that is real, and we're not pretending otherwise. So how does a brand with a bumpy reliability record end up with the most loyal owners in the country? The answer is hiding in one word: trucks. Ford's loyalty number isn't being carried by sedans or crossovers. It's the F-150 and the Ranger doing almost all of the work. Among truck buyers specifically, Ford has led the loyalty rankings for 4 years running, and once you understand why, the whole picture makes sense. Truck buyers aren't shopping the way sedan buyers shop. A Ford F-150 isn't just a vehicle, it's a tool. It's a livelihood for a contractor, a farm vehicle, a tow rig, a daily workhorse that's expected to take abuse and keep running. When someone builds their work and their identity around a specific truck for 10, 15, 20 years, switching brands isn't a small decision. It means relearning a vehicle, finding new parts suppliers, trusting a new dealer network, and admitting that the truck they've sworn by for 2 decades wasn't actually the best one. That's a tough thing for anyone to do, and most people just don't. There's also a community effect that's hard to measure but impossible to ignore if you've ever been near a truck meet or a Ford forum. Ford truck culture is generational in a lot of families. Dad had an F-150, so did his dad, and now so does the next one. That's not a reliability stat, that's identity, and identity is stickier than any spec sheet. Now let's flip over to Honda because the loyalty story here is just as real, but it comes from a completely different direction. Honda's loyalty doesn't come from emotional truck culture. It comes from boring, unglamorous, extremely consistent dependability. According to J.D. Power, Honda has ranked highest among mass-market SUV brands for loyalty 2 years running, with 62% of owners staying with the brand. And when you look at the reliability data behind that number, it's not close. Independent reliability analysis puts Honda's average score meaningfully ahead of most competitors, with lower annual repair costs and fewer severe issues per vehicle. Here's a number that actually matters to your wallet. The average Honda owner spends around $430 a year on repairs. The average Ford owner spends close to $700. Over 5 years of ownership, that gap adds up to well over $1,000. That's not a marketing claim, that's a maintenance bill. So why does that matter for loyalty? Because Honda owners aren't staying out of brand worship. They're staying because the math keeps working out in their favor year after year, model after model. The Civic has been doing this for decades. The CR-V has quietly become one of the most reliable family vehicles you can buy without anyone really making a big deal about it. Honda doesn't need to convince anyone with a flashy ad campaign. The car just keeps starting, keeps running, and keeps costing less to maintain than almost anything else in its class. That's the real split between these two brands, and it's more interesting than the version everyone argues about online. Ford earns loyalty through identity and emotional investment, concentrated heavily in trucks, where the relationship between owner and vehicle runs deeper than a spec sheet. Honda earns loyalty through quiet, repeatable, boring reliability, where the car simply doesn't give you a reason to leave. Neither one of those is the objectively better answer, even though the comment section will insist there has to be one. There are two completely different reasons for staying loyal to a brand, and that's exactly why this argument never actually gets resolved. A Ford truck owner and a Honda Civic owner aren't disagreeing about facts. They're not even optimizing for the same thing. There is a part of this that should make Ford a little nervous, though. Look closer at where Ford is struggling, and it's almost entirely concentrated in their newer electrified vehicles. Their hybrid and EV trucks have landed below average in recent independent reliability rankings, even as the brand overall posted its best reliability showing in over a decade. That's the tension Ford is sitting on right now. The truck loyalty that's carried them for generations was built on combustion engines people trust completely. As that lineup shifts toward electrification, Ford is essentially asking decades of loyal truck owners to trust an entirely new kind of vehicle with a much shorter track record. Loyalty built over 20 years doesn't automatically transfer to a product that's only existed for 2. Honda has the opposite problem in a way. Their reliability is rock solid, but reliability alone doesn't generate the kind of passionate, vocal community that Ford truck culture has. Nobody's getting a CR-V tattoo. Honda owners aren't showing up to meets in the same numbers. Their loyalty is real, but it's quiet. It shows up in repeat purchases, not in bumper stickers. So if you're trying to figure out which one of these brands you'd actually be loyal to, the honest answer is, it depends what you're loyal to in the first place. If you want a vehicle that becomes part of your identity, that you'd defend in an argument at a barbecue, the truck culture around Ford is genuinely hard to replicate anywhere else in the industry. If you want a vehicle that just quietly works for 15 years without draining your bank account on repairs, the data says Honda is doing exactly what it's always done. And if you're someone who's currently loyal to one of these brands, ask yourself honestly which version of loyalty you actually have. Are you staying because the car keeps proving itself, the way Honda owners do? Or are you staying because switching would feel like betraying something bigger than a vehicle the way Ford truck owners do? Either answer is valid, but they are not the same kind of loyalty, and pretending they are is exactly why this debate never goes anywhere. Now zoom out for a second because there's a wider industry picture that makes both of these loyalty stories make even more sense. Consumer Reports puts out an overall brand report card every year that combines road test performance, predicted reliability, owner satisfaction, and safety into one ranking. And in their most recent rankings, Honda landed in the top 5 overall brands in the entire industry, sitting just behind Subaru, BMW, and Porsche. Ford, meanwhile, posted its best showing in over a decade, climbing all the way up to 11th place. That's not a brand in crisis. That's a brand that's quietly been fixing its reputation for years, while the internet kept repeating jokes from a decade ago. Compare that to where the bottom of the industry sits. Brands like Jeep, Ram, and GMC are languishing near the bottom of the same rankings, with some of their hybrid and plug-in models showing up on actual worst reliability lists. So when someone says all American trucks are unreliable, that's not actually what the data shows anymore. Ford specifically has been closing the gap, while some of its competitors have been falling further behind. And this is where the loyalty data and the reliability data start to tell a genuinely interesting combined story. Ford isn't winning loyalty despite bad reliability. It's winning loyalty while reliability is actively improving on top of a foundation of trust that was already built over decades. That's a much stronger position than either stat looks like on its own. There's one more piece of this that's worth talking about because it's the part that could realistically flip this entire comparison within the next few years. Electric and hybrid reliability is still a mess industry-wide. Across the board, EVs are showing roughly 80% more reported issues than traditional combustion vehicles, and that's not a Ford-specific problem. That's almost every manufacturer adjusting to genuinely new technology at the same time. But Ford's exposure to that mess is higher than Honda's, at least for now. Ford has bet heavily on electrifying its truck lineup, which happens to be the exact same lineup that's been carrying its loyalty numbers for 20 years. If those electrified trucks can't earn the same trust as the combustion versions, Ford isn't just risking a bad reliability cycle, it's risking the very loyalty engine that's made it the most loyal brand in the country. Honda's approach has been slower and more conservative on the EV side, which sounds boring, and it is boring, but boring has been Honda's entire business model since the Civic first showed up. They're not trying to win the electrification race. They're trying to not break the thing that's worked for 50 years. So here's the real question worth sitting with. The next time your brand puts out a model that breaks the trend, a Ford that finally nails reliability, or a Honda that finally builds something with real character and identity behind it, would you still be loyal? Or were you only ever loyal to the version of the brand that already existed in your head? Drop your honest answer below.